They should be here by now.
Oh yeah, they've been here for like the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, go get them. I'll go get them.
It's
Yeah,
not
I don't know
safe
why I
for me
said
to
that.
open the
Yeah,
door.
you're right. You're right. It is unsafe. Yeah, I got you.
I got you.
All right, this is
Chocolate.
not sponsored, although insomnia feels like it fits.
Yeah, because these after hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, they're cozy.
Warm. Yeah, it's also 110 degrees outside still.
Oh my god, I love this thing.
Okay. So, welcome back to this part. So the topical thing, right? I actually wanted to sort of hit a topic that we've previously sort of discussed, but I think we actually gypped everybody by not really talking about it.
Oh gosh, what is it?
Which was like considerations for raising our kids, right? Because I think we sort of went off on a rant about like the challenges of like being an immigrant versus being somebody who's the child of an immigrant. But really, like we didn't really talk about what we're being mindful for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured we should go back. We should talk about that a little bit. For me, like one of the big things has always been like the holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I want our kids to grow up recognizing our holidays. Take part in everybody's celebrations, be happy for them, be happy with them. But I don't like. It always bothers me when Elise is like really excited about Christmas, because I'm like, but that's not ours, right? Like,
Yeah.
be excited for other people, but you're not going to get gifts on Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's been something that I have an issue with. Like I think before we even had kids, it was a thing that you and I had sort of agreed upon that like, whenever we were fortunate enough to have kids, we would make sure that like we did it up for Ramzan and Eid. And I'm trying to eat it. It's like very warm. It's like folding over on my thumb.
I was just checking which part of it I could eat without you stopping me from eating it.
Never ever stop you from eating my food.
No, now I don't want it because you're giving it to me.
I think for me that's a big thing, is like really making sure our kids understand our holidays and our religion and the things that we celebrate. And then also in there, like really teaching them to think for themselves, and particularly when it comes to religion, right? Again, I was very fortunate that the way my parents raised me, they taught us to question. They taught us to be like, look, go seek the answers, challenge it, do whatever you need to do. And that's always been sort of what's kept my faith strong, is the ability to question it and come out with an answer and be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Whereas so many people, I think, sort of force you to blindly follow a faith.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah. And it's not just with Islam, right? I think that happens with a lot of different religions, where it's sort of like, this is how it is, this is what you need to do, now go do that, and do that for the rest of your life.
To be honest with you, I got nothing.
You don't like think about anything that makes sure?
I mean, making sure in what sense?
No, like what are the things that like you think about like for the kids? Like, I want to make sure the kids know this, or I really want to make sure they learn this, or whatever.
Well, I mean, for me, like, my focus is, like, to make sure that they both know how to read and write Arabic and Urdu. That's one of them, because I think it really does preserve culture and language.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important to me. Like, I take pride in knowing how to write both and read both. And so for me, it's like, your dad and I, like, write to each other in Urdu. We, like, wrote letters to each other in Urdu before we got married. And
my dad will like text us all in Urdu, because
and then he will tell me to translate it for everybody.
yeah, because all of us can speak Urdu very fluently, but we can't read it.
Yeah.
So my dad will like text the family thread in Urdu, and he'll like, Miriam, can you translate this for the kids? I'm like, Dad, the betrayal.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just, I don't even know what's like a proper word for this, but like people throw it around in our culture. It's like sugar. I don't even know how, like, I don't know what an English word would be for that. But while I love that, women should be whatever they want to be, and like one of the things that I do want them to be is so good, and that's like knowing how to work outside of the house, knowing how to manage the house. I think women can do that. And I grew up where like women were like, the only thing they knew was how to be a homemaker. And they had careers, but after they got married, it was like either you pick your career or you pick being a homemaker.
Yeah.
And I want the girls to know that you can do both. And that's like a really big thing for me, right? And I am currently going through that myself. Like, not that not that you've asked me, or like not that people have made me feel that way, but it's like a personal struggle that I have, right? Like when you have kids, you get so... I was having this conversation with Melissa the other day, and I was like, I had an emotional, when I said I had a really emotional day, it's because I was talking about this, right? When you have kids, your initial motherly instinct is to be their sole primary caretakers, right? And then if you are working outside of the house, you feel like, things have to take a pause because they are a priority. And for some reason, you always feel guilty for choosing, an alternative.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I'm at those crossroads right now where like I do have a career, but I also love being their mom. I also love doing things for them, right? Like I love waking up and making them breakfast and lunch, and like being there with Azina all day, and like I love doing her naps. I love picking the girls up. Like I love all of those things so much. But then also I get so sad that like my work is pending. My projects are pending. I haven't been able to submit things on time. I haven't been able to, and some of it is that I've chosen to do like take care of them, right? And the other part has been like, for some reason my job isn't taken seriously by people around me, and that's like, it makes it harder. And I don't want the girls to ever feel like they have to pick between a career and having a home. If they choose to one day have a family and have kids, whatever they decide, I want them to know that they can do both. For me, it's like, right now I feel like I have to choose between having a career or being a mom.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do both, and I feel like I'm like constantly failing. I haven't been able to find the balance. And I don't even know if there is a balance, But yeah, that's like one of the two things that I like really want them to be.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I sort of want to respond to you, but I'm like if I say anything, it's going to sort of completely veer us off course again. It's like the one topic we'll never touch.
And then like, sorry, I just thought of another one, and that's like maintaining relationships.
Yeah.
Learning to maintain relationships. It's so, so, so huge. I grew up with our families being so, scattered all over the world, and I didn't grow up being close to my cousins, right? Like there's a handful of cousins that I was close to when I was, younger, but then we moved to the US, and then, it became like a distant memory.
Yep.
And so now when I have kids, I wish like I was close to my cousins, so then like my kids would have cousins from my side of the family, but they're so far apart that like, and there's like hardly any relationship that was ever maintained. So like it's, I don't have that for them. And so naturally I'm more drawn to like, because your family has always preserved relationships and,
to a fault, but yeah.
It's good, like the girls have cousins. They have cousins who are their age right now, and they can like go to them. I don't have that from my side of the family to give them, and I wish I did. And I think it's very important. While I understand there's like families that are always going to have differences, I think, you have to be able to maintain a relationship for the sake of your kids.
Yep.
Unless, like, it's a very harmful relationship and it's toxic and it can be a bad influence on your child, then obviously no. But, like, somebody, like, didn't like that you bought a new house, and all of a sudden you're going to cut them off, and then like your kids are never going to talk to their kid. Like I don't think that's like, I don't think that should be worth it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's something sort of similar. It's like family is very, very important, and I want our girls to grow up knowing that and experiencing that. But even more generally, right? I want them to sort of understand the importance of being part of a collective.
Mm-hmm.
Like hate's a strong word, but I actually do think it fits here. It's like the sort of like the rugged individualism that's forced down our throats here in the West, right? Like everything's about like, oh, it's just about you. Like you do what makes you happy. You do you. Like you. And eventually, like you end up by yourself,
Yes.
right? And when things get bad, and they do get bad, right? No matter how good your life is, it will have its downs. It sucks being down by yourself, right? Like that's when it's really nice to have that family, that support structure around the people who are around you. And you know, my parents used to always say, like, you know, if somebody ever does anything for you, pay them back immediately. But if you ever do something for somebody, never do it with the expectation of like a return, right? It was always like, always give to your community, but never take from them, right? And it was sort of an extreme, the way we grew up, but like I do think that that's a really important lesson that I want the girls to grow up with, is that like not everything is a quid pro quo. Not everything is like give and take. Right? Give and take is sort of the nature of a relationship, but like what you're giving and taking matters, right? It shouldn't be like you give me this, you give me $5, we'll go out to lunch. Or, that's a terrible example, but you get what I'm saying, right? And I think that is a massive part of the American culture. You. Oh no!
I think this is gonna. Okay, maybe I won't ask.
No, now you have to ask.
I'm like, how do you feel about like? Don't take from people, and okay, fine, like I agree with what you're saying, but like how do you feel about people that take advantage of people like that?
What do you mean?
Like
people who like will take advantage of somebody who's
they
like
just
a
keep
giver?
taking. At what point do you think that we will teach our children to be like, this is where you draw the line?
That's a good point. I think there's a boundary to be set, and that's what I was saying, is like it was sort of an extreme, right? We never set our boundary.
Yeah.
Like my family, like we grew up, there was no boundary. It was like just always give. Even if you didn't have anything to give, you gave it anyways, right? And I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
But I think there should be a boundary, right? Like what you give has to be, for one, you have to be able to afford it, whether it be emotionally, physically, monetarily, whatever, right? You have to be able to afford what you're giving.
Yeah.
I don't think you should put yourself in any type of debt to give unless it's that important, right?
Yeah.
If you're out there helping your parents with something, and you got to put yourself in debt for that, then if you have to decide for yourself. But like I would argue that that's important enough to do so. But like, I do think that you have to have a healthy boundary to say, okay, cool, like I'm gonna give to this person. And again, like, if there's somebody who's out there who's just like taking, if you're giving to no deficit to yourself, right? Which is that like I can afford to give this to you. Like you want to call me once a week and complain about your life, but like you don't pick up the phone when I call.
Yeah, I think that's what I have like the biggest issue with, is like people who tend to like be available for people like that and they give continuously get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And so the only relationship that ends up being there is like you're either an ATM machine or like it's just there's actually no relationship there.
Yeah.
They're so self-centered, and like so you end up just like it drains you out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But that's why I think the boundary is important. You have to figure out what's right for you, and again, I hope we are able to teach the girls how to find that boundary.
Yeah.
And be comfortable in what they choose.
Yeah. And how do you think that, like, I don't know if you ever thought about it, like, how would you tackle, because that's the other part, right? There's a lot of people in our society that would be like, that, creating a boundary is not good. that kind of boundary. Like it's okay if they're doing that, especially it happens with older siblings.
Yeah, but
Like, it's always like you have to continuously give. It doesn't matter if like your younger siblings or people in the family are just like draining you out, or like your mental health is just wild, but you have to keep on. You have to keep going.
Yeah. Do I want a snickerdoodle or the mint one?
It doesn't matter. You're gonna end up eating both of them eventually.
Yeah, but I'll eat the other one tomorrow probably.
No, you're gonna eat it before bed. Who are we kidding? He has like zero self-control when it comes to sugar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I don't know the answer to that. I'm the youngest sibling. I take and take and take. But no, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think they just have to find like. You know me, like I'll cut somebody off if I feel like they're gonna be if they're gonna be harmful to my family.
I think at this point in my life I've gotten to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would be like when the girls grow up.
Yeah.
Is it both of them?
No, that's what we got. There's the behavioral stuff, of course, of like we want them to be good kids and so on, but like really from a cultural perspective, I want them to really love and own their holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not to the extent of like just shun other people's holidays. I do think like, look, we live in a multicultural society.
I think they should be able to coexist.
Yeah.
Just knowing that
Yeah.
they're Muslim.
Yeah. I want them to love and remember and be a part of their culture, right? Which I think is going to be extra hard for us because like again, like you grew up there. So you obviously had that. For me, I had the privilege of growing up with a family that was like essentially like 800 of us just fresh off the boat living in like within a 3-hour radius of each other. So we were always like surrounded by.
Honestly, it all really trickles down to just providing them with the tools to be. There's a lot of things that we can instill in them.
Like trying to create the environment for them.
Yeah, I mean we can do our best to like create an environment for them, give them the tools that they need to be who they want to be. But ultimately, the girls are going to grow up. They're going to end up making their own decisions. But we can only hope and pray that whatever decision that they make for themselves is for their betterment.
The other big thing, sorry, this is very random, but like, not random. But I as much as I want them to sort of be embedded in the culture and all that stuff, I want them to know that just because it's the cultural norm does not mean it's right. And
Absolutely,
that if you need to step
100%.
away from that, or if you feel like you need to step up to somebody to sort of argue that, then you always got our full support.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the thing, right? A lot of people try to use that to shut you up. It's like, well, like this is how we do it. This is the right way.
I think there's like clear differences between culture and religion, and I think
that
community
too.
does a fantastic job of not creating separation between the two.
Yeah.
And so for anyone,
it's intentional in a way. Like it's like, this is religious.
And I think that's why I am more liberal in my thought process when it comes to religion and culture.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, look, I am very like Pakistani, and I'm very like I take pride in being Pakistani in our culture. And I grew up in Saudi. I studied the Quran, and I know like the Quran with translation and like all of those things, right? So for me, like the more people were like, you need to do this, the more I was like, no, I am going to figure it out myself, and I don't want the girls to like associate our religion and culture with like negativity. Like it's a negative thing.
Conservatism and
like I don't want them to feel that way. I want them to be like, hey, Islam is peaceful. These are the fundamentals, and Islam teaches you to question.
Yeah.
It wants you to question your beliefs and seek for more answers. And so I want them to know that like take however long you want to take to figure out your own answers and whatever that you need
Yeah.
for it to be. But I 100% agree. I would never want the girls to be in a community or an environment where people are constantly trying to conform them into believing that the cultural norms are absolutely the way to go. And if they do anything else, that they're completely shunned. Because at that point, I think I am going to be,
Yeah.
I think about it sometimes. Like, what would I do? And I'm just like, my bear claws come out. I'm like, I can't deal with this. Do you know where I grew up? Do you know where I grew up? I grew up in Gwinnett County.
Oh, gosh. That's not where you grew up. You grew up in...
Okay, first of all, I grew up in Medina.
Yeah,
so
I was
couldn't do
say,
anything there.
Yes.
Then
you grew up inside of your apartment in Medina.
And then I grew up in Multan.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything there either.
Yeah. No,
But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I just...
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of growing that we're going to have to do along the way also. And I think that's like...
Nothing makes you hate yourself
more
than seeing your child be just like you. You're like, why am I like this?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that, like, I see Eliza looking at me, when I'm getting ready, or... things that I say, the things that I believe in, the things that I watch, right? Like, she watches my every move. And then I have to quickly, like, catch myself every time to, like, is this something that I want her to know? Yep. Is this something that I want her to be? And then you're just like, great. Now, like, my heart's telling me no. Mine's telling me yes. But, yeah, so... we'll see. It's a learning curve for all of us, and may Allah give us,
Shifa?
No, that's when you're sick. Hidayat.
Hidayat, that's the word.
Yeah. May Allah give us the
children,
hidayat.
this is why you should teach your children to understand Arabic and not just how to read it. On that
Your mom's going to call you tomorrow after this.
You know what? I have this argument with them all the time. I'm like, I am strongly against the notion of, like, just teach people to read Arabic and that's it.
They'll have arguments with you, and then they'll look at me, and I'm like, I have no part in this.
It's like, I don't know how to read.
I don't even go here.
Yeah, no. But that's sort of inadvertently another thing, is that, like, this whole, like, this is less about anything else, and I think this is really very specific to Islam, but, like, I'm very much against the notion of, like, teach them to read the Quran in Arabic, but, like, they don't need to understand it.
I want them to read the Quran like they would read a book.
Exactly.
And just truly understand the concept, and, not just like,
yeah,
Allah said that, but, like, there's...
I know. Can I tell you, though, these kids' books, these Muslim kids' books, it's like you open up, like, page 2, and it's like, and then they all went to hell, and you're like, okay, well, my 3-year-old's not going to read that right now.
Yeah, it's very extreme.
Yeah, it's like, y'all, can we
and that's one of the reasons
fix
why
this up for kids?
I'm very, like, I'm going to be very, whatchamacallit, aware, not aware, it's not the correct word, but, like, whoever teaches them the Quran, you better believe I'm there. I'll be sitting there. And, yeah. All right. We are exhausted, and we're hoping that eventually we become accustomed to doing these after-hour podcast thingies. And if not, bear with us. But most importantly, please subscribe.
Yeah. More important than anything else, okay?
Just give us your support. Just kidding. Obviously we love doing this, and we want it to reach as many people as possible, and your support always means the world to us. So
absolutely.
If you're able to subscribe, please do. But yeah, we'll see y'all in the comments, and hopefully good comments. And
yeah.
All right.
But you know what? Even if you disagree, let's do it respectfully. Let's have the conversation.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. I'm here for that.
Yeah. All right, folks. Good night.
Shibaheh.